Welcome to our playthrough of Mark Herman's Pericles, the Peloponnesian Wars. Okay, now I need to stop putting my elbows on the table because I'm getting shake. Either that or I need to find a more stable table. Either way. Okay, yes, welcome. And let's just dive right in. Let's start with what I want to preliminary. I haven't played this in a while, so there will likely be errors. More so because as I try to talk and talk extemporaneously, I may be in the middle of executing something and then go off on a tangent and then forget what I was doing, and then an error will come in. And so, I'll get distracted, in other words. And go ahead and call them out in the comments if you see an error or something like that. But I will say this, and I see a lot of this on the comments, is someone will say, hey, at 14 minutes you did this when you should have done that. And then he'll reply to his own comment and says, oh, I see later you caught it. And yeah, okay, so wait till the end of the video, and if you still remember the error, go ahead and comment on it. I'll usually try to edit it out. I probably won't rewind the error unless it's really easy to do. We're doing this more as when you're doing solo games like this, you're really going in it for the story, the narrative, as we say, and not so much, I gotta beat the bots or something like that. So we'll just kind of invent a story reason for the error or something like that. Does that sound good? Sounds good to me. Okay. What else was I going to say? Let's start out. I should start out with a little bit. I don't want to assume everybody knows everything, but I want to go a little bit into the nature of this conflict. In 5th century Greece, at least in the early parts before we really dig into the main fighting style was, especially on land, was hoplite warfare. The phalanxes, the shield walls, and you kind of come together and fight like that. This is a very broad historical overview. This is not a classroom. This is not I'm not a professor or anything like that. So when I do these historical little background things, they're going to be very broad and probably very incomplete, and it might also be full of errors. Feel free to add something in the comments if you think we need to go over that. But anyway, 5th century Greece, hoplite warfare on land. And the idea is, if you have a beef with your neighboring city, you go out and meet them on the field of battle, and you bring your 2 hoplite armies up, you fight, one of you wins, and that should resolve the dispute. But Sparta, in a sense, had a hack. And that hack was they had a huge slave population of helots who grew all the food for them. So, and what they did with their all that free time was dedicate themselves to hoplite warfare training. And over time, that just made them pretty much unbeatable on the field. Now, Athens comes along, and they come up with a hack of their own. And since they're heavily a naval power, first of all, this is from their Delian League. When they were fighting the Persians, they after they defeated the Pen, all the Greek city-states united to defeat the Persians, Athens decided to make an anti-Persian league, as it were, a defense pact with a lot of these islands out here. And it's the Delian League, and what they would do is, okay, you give us ships, and we'll just kind of maintain this league. Oh, if you don't have ships, send us money. And over time, basically, Athens, acquired all this wealth, and you grew their navy to such a point. But then they came up with their hack against Sparta, and that was the Long Walls of Athens. And I'll put a little picture on here. And these walls went from Athens all the way down to their port, which I'll pronounce Piraeus. And this effectively meant that when the hoplite army came, they couldn't coax the Athenians to fight, and they couldn't starve them out either because they had walls around their port, and they would just bring in their food while the Spartans just looked on while they kept themselves sustained. That is kind of the nature of the conflict. So this whole game is trying to kind of find weak spots in each other until you can kind of break them, as it were. Okay, let's get into this. Turn 1.
It's a warm summer evening in ancient Greece.
And turn 1, we're going to start with the Aristophanes phase. Aristophanes phase just simply means we're going to pull one card off this deck and do what it says. Oh, I still got glare in there. Oh, I know why. Here, let me turn off this light real quick. There we go. A little better. All right. Card one. Focus. Thank you. Clouds. Okay, this is the Aristophanes play. They're making fun of Socrates in this one about how it's a silly. It's kind of like the same way we laugh at university with their underwater basket weaving classes and stuff like that. Now the Aristophanes plays. I've read a few of them, not all of them. All these ones in this deck here, I won't be familiar with many of them. When I try to read them, it's kind of like watching an old episode of Three's Company or the Jeffersons. You're just sitting there going, wow, this was entertainment at some point. Okay. But anyway, all we're going to do, and there's a little quote from the play itself. How we first began to bicker, I will tell you very soon. Okay. All right. And because the Clouds was a play, and I read up a little bit on the Clouds before, it came in a time during a period of peace. And it's not, it makes a lot of sense that this is a War and Peace card. Now, what does these things mean? Okay, so we're going to put the War Peace debate issue in Athens, and we're going to place it on the controlling faction's one space. Okay, I am the aristocrats, and I am the controlling faction, I should say. Controlling faction basically is going to yield a bunch of benefits like breaking ties and other things. It's like very little benefits, but they add up over time. So it is generally worth it to be controlling faction. And especially at the end, there's a whole bunch of little bits of scoring that you can pick up. And I have got to get my elbows off this table because I'm still shaking it. I'm sorry. Okay. So it told us to put the War and Peace issue on the one space here. And I'll just show you. Focus. Thank you. War and Peace. And I'm going to put it in this one space right over here. Like so. In fact, I should come in a little closer. Well, not yet. We'll do that later. Okay. Now, currently, and we use these white markers on the dais here of the assemblies, I guess it is. And that's going to indicate that we're in a state of peace. Now, what that means, peace is a very fuzzy concept in this period. It doesn't mean a complete absence of war. What it means is the Athenians and the Spartans are not fighting directly. So what it means over here is that blue cubes and sticks cannot move into a space with red cubes and vice versa. You can move white and yellow, which are opposed. I said that in the last video. The white is the allies of the Athenians, the blue, and the yellow is the allies of the Spartans, or the red. And they can fight as much as they want during peace. So we have that. Now it's on the one space in my faction. That means right now I am winning that issue when we go into the assembly phase. And if I get through the whole assembly phase and it's still over on my side anywhere, even just 1 or 6 or 7, it doesn't matter. At the end, if it's over on my side, I win that issue. And that's basically it. So let's go with the second part of this card. Focus, please. War and Peace place on the controlling factions one space. So this is basically, and we'll do the same thing here. That's their War and Peace issue. And that goes on the controlling faction. I use this marker here, and there's like a blue marker over there to tell you which one's controlling faction. And I say Agiad. If somebody has a better pronunciation, let me know. Or Gied or something like that. Anyway, that goes on the one space as well. Now, because we're in a state of peace, if anybody wins this War and Peace issue, we're going to go to war pretty much immediately. And that's going to have ramifications for what I call the Suicide of Greece rules, which we'll get into later. Okay, there's still more. All right. War Party. Each controlling faction immediately receives 2 Strategos tokens from their stock this turn. Okay, I haven't really talked about Strategos tokens. That's these little bits here. And this is basically the capital you use to spend to resolve theater issues. And obviously you want these because if you don't have them, you're not going to be able to be as effective on the theater. So in a sense, it's like, I mean, it's not money, but it's like material, political capital. It's a whole bunch of, it's a kind of a very abstract concept, but it's basically the currency for executing theater issues. And so it tells me I get 2 of them. Nice for me, but it also means the Spartans, the Agiad, get 2 as well. And that is the Aristophanes phase. And we'll just pop the deck over here. Where is it? I wish there was a spot for this on the board. I like it when games, it's all self-contained on the board. There's a lot of pieces in this one, so it wouldn't be totally practical, but I would have liked to see a little spot for that. Anyway, so where are we now? Now we're getting ready to do the assembly phase. But because this is a solo game, we have to come up with the various strategies for each of these bots that I'm gonna be competing with. And so it is time to take a look at our strategy matrix. All right, check out this honker. This is our strategy matrix, and this is how we're going to calculate what the various bots. The bots are called Formio, and that's the name of his AI. And let's show you how we use this. We're going to start with the Spartans first. It doesn't matter which order you really do them in. And what you're really going to do, okay, focus, I say, okay. First, you're going to find the conditions on the board and just go down there until you find one that applies. And then it's going to give you a strategy, what the strategy is called. It's going to give you what kind of theater issues you want to try to win. And then it's going to tell you where to put them and what order. And there's some notes here for how to implement them as you go along. So it's really just going to generate an entire strategy of how they're going to debate, how they're going to lay out their strategies, and so on. And you'll just go down this chart. Let's take a look here. So let's go through the conditions. Start here. Sparta is contested. Sparta is not contested. Contested basically means that if, say, a blue cube was just any kind of enemy cube was in here, that's enough to contest it. Yeah, I can do any number, just one or more in a, otherwise this is Sparta controlled. It's contested if there's one in here. And if there's nothing in them, like here, that's neutral. Pretty easy, huh? All right. So Sparta is not contested, so we just skip that. We'll start with the controlling faction. We have to get a strategy for each faction. So Agiad first. And they go to here. Sparta is contested. Will of the Assembly is something that appears on the Aristophanes cards. There was none on the Clouds cards, so we just move on from there. And there's 2 of them here. One is to build or convert a base, and the other is to control the theater. Oh yeah, I guess all the boxes are called theaters. They're like little regions of areas in Greece. Okay, contested theater. First, the Isthmus of Corinth. Okay, here we go. Here, focus in, Isthmus of Corinth, right there. And we can see yellow, which is the Spartans, and white, which is the Athenians. So yes, this theater is contested. So when we go back to the Agiad are going to want to implement this strategy, maybe. Now here's a little trick. So basically what happens is, as the Agiad bot, we're going to roll the dice. If it lands on a 6, that means the assembly does not want to do that issue, and it's going to move on down the chart. So we roll. It's a 5. They will do the strategy, which is protect key allies. And Corinth is a very important, historically is a very important region. It's it's where Sparta has, the Corinthians have the biggest navy, which is more or less the biggest threat to the Athenian navy. And there's this little gulf in here that can really pinch off naval control. So naturally, you want the Spartans and the Athenians have an interest in controlling this area. Okay, so they're going to protect the allies, and what they're going to do is they're going to go into the debates, and what they're going to try to do is win a military issue, a league issue, military issue, and finally another military issue. And basically what we're going to try to do is, clear out enemy forces. So, and I find it easy to just do this on a pad. So, I'll just get a little notepad here, and I'll go Agiad, and I'll go, all right, here, get focus, MLM, Military League Military. That's what they want to go into the debate trying to win. And then we have to go to the next one, because it's not always in this, the way you win the things are not necessarily the order you would place them on the theater. And I'll get into that later. Yeah, but in this case, it's the same. It's MLM. And I'll just do that. I'll just go again. MLM, and that'll let me know. I can always look at a glance to see what I'm trying to execute as I go along. Okay, so the Agiad has picked their strategy. They're going to try to clear out Corinth of enemies. And now we move on to the Eurypontid faction of the Spartans. So, and they just pick up wherever they left off. Not contested theater. We're going to go down here to the next one. Sparta is at war with Athens. We are not at war with Athens, so we're going to skip that. Okay, Sicily is neutral, contested, or enemy controlled. Sicily is right here. And the issue with Sicily, I should have covered this earlier. One of the I talked about this in the video, but I don't think I mentioned it specifically. There is a winning mechanic that can lose Athens the game. Athens always has to have access to a granary. Or a granary, I don't know how you pronounce it. This is where the food comes from. Now, if it turns out they don't have any granaries that they control, Athens is going to be starved out and lose the game. So they have a big interest in protecting that granary. There's also one other granary right over here in Sicily. So naturally, this is something that both Sparta and Athens would be interested in. And so what the bot strategy matrix is telling us is the Eurypontids are seriously contemplating making a move into Sicily. But as before, we have to see if the dice agree. Or the fickleness of the assembly agrees, I guess you could say that. 4, yes, they will do it. So their strategy is to build a base in Sicily. I think that's what the strategy is. This is called the granary strategy. Somebody tell me how to pronounce that. Okay, so when the Eurypontids go into the debates, they want to win a military issue and a league issue. They're going to place them in Sicily if they win, and they're going to actually reverse the order when they put them out on there. And we'll get into why that is, because like I said, there's a whole last in, first out when executing these moves, and it matters. So you got to have these things timed right, or you're just going to spin your wheels. So I will write in a little Eurypontid. We'll just call it Eura. And it's league, military, and wait, did I get that right? No, it's backwards. I got that backwards. It's ML, and then when you implement it, LM. And that's how I just kind of keep track. That's just an easy way to do that. Okay, so the Spartans have their strategy. They want to clear out the enemies in Corinth, and they want to set up a base in Sicily. Okay. That leaves me and my rival faction, the Demagogues. Now, of course, I am a free agent here because I'm the player, so I don't actually follow this strategy. Oops, we need this. We need the Athenian side to this, don't we? Okay. So I'm going to let the bot choose first. Okay. So we go up here. The Demagogues, they look here and they say Athens is contested. Athens is not contested, so we're going to move on. Okay, any granary theater lacks a friendly base. Okay, here is one that has caused people confusion. Because someone can sit there and think, okay, does any granary lack a friendly base? Well, Sicily, there's a place that lacks a friendly base. They must want me to do that one. No, actually, what this is remember, we have to protect the granaries, and all this is asking is, are you going to lose the game in the next turn? Because if you don't have a granary, you need to choose this issue and try to get a granary back. So they're not actually going to do this because we do have a granary. It has a friendly base. We're good. Okay, so it moves on. There's no will of assemblies from the Aristophanes cards. And let's see. So we go to contested theater. Now, Pactus. Okay, right here. Another important naval checkpoint or choke point. No, not contested. It's got It's got Athenian Navy. That's what the sticks are, by the way. They're the Navy. The cubes are armies. I don't think I mentioned that before. And the discs are bases. And we have allies and the Athenians there. It is not contested. Okay, so we are going to ignore that, but it asks us again, the Hellespont up there. And no, that's not contested either. And finally, Corcyra. You tell me how to pronounce that. I will try to remember. I usually say Corcyra. And no, it is not contested. It is neutral. So we're going to ignore this whole box here. Sorry, it keeps going in and out of focus. Peace of Callias has not been declared. Okay, it has not been. This is ending the Persian War. I'll explain it if they decide to take the option. Oh, wait a minute. Let's get a fancy blue dice for the Athenians. Yes, they will do this. Okay, what they need to do. And we're trying to end the Persian War. Basically, military, league issue is what we want, and we're going to implement them, league and military. And essentially, we are going to build a base. They're going to try to build a base right here. And if we do, we can basically end the war with Persia. And this is important because if you don't do this, every turn that you're still kind of don't have peace with Persia is going to drain points away from the Athenians over time. And over 10 turns, that's a lot of points. So we want to do it, and that is what the Demagogues are going to do. So I take my pen. Come here, focus you. Look at my terrible writing. Okay, and they want to win a military and a league issue in the assembly. And then they want to implement it in this order, league, military. Okay, and I, as the aristocrats, are just going to kind of go with the flow, as it were, and see what I can do. And that's why, I forgot to mention the points. All factions start with 10 points. Well, no, wait a minute. I start with 10 points. Well, they all start with 10 points, but if they're a bot, they get a 20-point bonus. And since we have 3 bots, that's 3 factions with 20 more points than me. And that is basically the handicap, because me as a free agent can kind of do things to farm points that it's not too bad. But, if we were starting even, I would probably start pulling away from them pretty quickly. But I am just going to wait and just kind of see how it all plays out, see how my cards play out in the assembly, and that'll kind of dictate what kind of strategy I'm looking for. And that's the benefit of being a free player there. that is all I want to cover here. That's 24 minutes. I'm trying to keep these down to phases, so it might end up as we move along here is I'll do a little historical background for each. Then we'll do, say, the debate, Aristophanes debate phase, and then we'll do the theater phase, and that's for another video, and that's, I think, how I'll break it up. But then we're going to go ahead and stop here, and thanks for watching.
Oh, I love your eyes.
Here you go. This is gonna make you feel so good.